What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Legit Whiskey Reviews, and today I'll be reviewing Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. This is the C921. Alright, so another Elijah Craig Barrel Proof release. I know I'm a little bit behind because the A122 just came out, but I've just been behind a lot of my reviews, and I took a week off and just a lot of stuff going on. So I'm finally getting to this Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and like I said, this is the C921. So this is the last release of last year of 2021. And for those of you that don't know, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, these usually get released 3 times a year. The A batch gets released in January, the B batch gets released in May, and the C batch, like I said, gets released in September. But typically, like last year, they came out, I know the C batch I didn't see in my area for like probably like 2 months later, and these are getting harder and harder to find. Through the years, they're just harder and harder to find. But luckily for me, I still see these on the shelf, and I see them at retail between $65 to $70. I know a lot of people out there have to pay way more for these, so I'm pretty lucky when it comes to that part of it. And this one is coming in at 120.2 proof, so that's 60.1% ABV. So that's another thing that I've noticed with these Elijah Craig's barrel proofs. All the releases last year were pretty much around that 120 proof mark. So, a little bit higher, but right in that area between the 120 to 125, which is not typical for an Elijah Craig barrel proof release, because these like the one that I have here from 2020, this is the C batch from 2020. This is the C920. This one was 132.8 proof, so that's a big difference from the ones that were released last year. I also have the first release of last year. This is the A121, which I'll be comparing to this one. I was thinking of comparing all of them, but it just wouldn't be fair to compare the C920 to these, because the C920 was just so good, and it was just such, in my opinion, such an elite batch that it just wouldn't even be fair to compare it to these, because the C920 in my opinion is just far superior. But yeah, so I have it poured here. It's opening up in the glass, and before I get into it, I just wanted to let you guys know that I did start Patreon, so I'll have a link in the description at the bottom if you guys want to take a look at it. If not, no pressure, no worries. I just wanted to let you guys know that I started a Patreon. So all right, so now to the important thing. Let's get into this C921. So one thing I noticed in this C921 as opposed to the A121 is that this C batch is coming off far more caramel forward and also oak forward. So there's a ton of caramel in here, and the oak, these by the way are all age stated. They're 12 years old, so in my opinion, there's no better deal in bourbon, for a 12 age year statement at barrel proof, if you can find it. So that's the only drawback, is being able to find these. But in my opinion, this is like the best deal in bourbon as far as barrel proof and age statement. Some people may disagree, but yeah, it's really hard to compete with that. So yeah, there's a ton of caramel in here, a ton of oak. There's some vanilla coming through. Just from what I can recall from this other batch here, the A121, which I'll compare to in a little bit. This one's coming like forward, like more, the notes are coming through more pronounced. They're more there, like they're more, it's just coming off more, I noticed with this A121, it was less oaky than this one, but in my opinion, the A121 was way nuttier from what I remember. This one, to me, is not as nutty. That Heaven Hill nuttiness is not really showing up, at least not for me, at least not in the nose. But it smells very caramel heavy, vanilla, oaky, very oaky. And very spicy as well. So there's a lot of spice going on in here too. But this is smelling to me more like classic ECBP as opposed to the other ones that came out last year. This one I feel like is back to being Elijah Craig barrel proof. But I really like the nose. Let's go to the palate. Cheers. So the proof, you definitely feel the proof. In my opinion, it drinks a little bit hotter than the 120 proof, but it's not like over the top. I think it's just right. Very spicy. The same thing I got in the nose, I'm getting in the palate. Just very spicy, very oaky. I'm getting a sweet oak. It is a little bit drying, but not bad at all. And that caramel, vanilla, cinnamon, there's a ton of cinnamon as well, which I didn't describe on the nose. But yeah, that spicy cinnamon note definitely came through on the palate as well. So I'm getting just the classic Elijah Craig barrel proof flavors. I feel like I said, I feel like they're more there than the other batches that came out last year. And it seems like, in my opinion, it's like, while it's oakier, it's not as nutty, and it's more well-rounded than the other batches. But I'm gonna pour this A121, which wasn't really my favorite ECBP to come out, but this one is a little bit higher proof. This one is 123.6, so 61.8% ABV. So a little bit higher proof. But let's see what we get out of this A121 as opposed to this C921. So yeah, I feel like the A121 is less pronounced. Like I was saying, I feel like the notes that I'm picking up, while they're there, I mean, this is a barrel proof and it's Elijah Craig, I feel like the C921, you pick them up easier. They're just more pronounced, and I'm getting more brown sugar on the A121 than I am on the C921. But the C921 smells thicker, like more viscous, creamier. And there's way less oak coming through on this A121 than there is on the C921. But let me go to the palate on the A121. Yeah, for some reason this is just coming off like this one, in my opinion, is more, it's like more peppery than this one. This one's spicier. This one is there's more peppery notes coming through. It's less oaky. It's a little bit more nutty, in my opinion, than the C921. But it's also, like, in my opinion, it just tastes thinner on the palate. Like, it doesn't coat the palate like the way the C921 does. Let me try the C921 again. Yeah, that C921 is on another level compared to this A121. Just the amount of oak and the amount of spice that comes through, also with the caramel, vanilla, and the cinnamon note. It's just, there's just more going on, in my opinion, in the C921. But I would say if you're not a big fan of a spicy bourbon, I feel like that maybe the A121 would be a better one to go for if you can still find them. I did see some on the shelf not too long ago, but yeah, I mean, if you could still find them and if you were looking for it, I feel like the A121, if you don't like as much of a spicy note on a bourbon, that might be the one to go for. But as far as like the more well-rounded one, the oakier one, it's like a sweet oak, more viscous, mouth coating. just sweeter all around flavors, I would go with the C921. There's just, it's like night and day in my opinion. It's just way better, and I feel like this release for last year was way superior to the other two releases that came out last year. But yeah, this A121, it's still worth it. I mean, you know, a 12-year age stated, $70 bourbon. It's kind of hard to beat, and while I'm like nitpicking at the flavors, it's still a solid, enjoyable bourbon. So it's not like I'm saying it's not good. It's just compared to this one, the C921, it's just inferior in my opinion. But it's not like it's a bad bourbon. It's just comparing to the other batches. That's all I'm saying. So as far as my final score for this Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C921, I'm gonna give it an A+. It's just hard to beat. The flavors is so well rounded. There's so much sweet oak coming through, spicy, just a ton of caramel, vanilla, and then with the cinnamon, it's just, you know, these are just so hard to beat. Come out 3 times a year, and even if you get a batch that wasn't as good as others, they're still a great value. So as far as my final score, I'm gonna give it an A+. And yeah, it's super enjoyable, and I'm glad I picked it up. So if you guys like my content, remember to smash that like button. Remember to subscribe. You guys can catch me on Instagram at Legit Whiskey Reviews, and keep it legit and do it for the love of whiskey. Cheers.